You have now tuned into Insight Sundays, the show that brings you relevant news, youth topics with a new mission and focus for our communities. Here is your host, Adrian Mickens.
What's going on, Indianapolis? It's your main man, Adrian Mickens, with another edition of Insight Sundays, presented by Harambe Production on AM 1310, The Light. As always, we have to give a shout out to all of our sponsors, which are Andrew J. Brown Academy, Indiana Christian Leadership Conference, or ICLC, Buttons and Bows Hair Salon, Bethesda Temple Southeast Campus, New Vision Lighthouse Ministries, Lighthouse Academy Charter School, Providence Crystal Ray High School, Vitality Bowls, Sam Ash Music Store, and Beach Grove Bible Church. As always, for all of our followers, if you just don't want to listen in the car, you can listen online on Facebook Live at Insight Sundays. Once again, that's Facebook Live at Insight Sundays, or you can catch us on Snapchat, Twitter, or Instagram. In the house today, we have a brand new community program outreach that is really surfacing on the scene, and this company is called Convicted to Change. In the house today, we have
John Lindsey. What's going on, Chief?
John Lindsey is in the house. So, John, can you talk with Indianapolis and me about what made you want to start Convicted to Change? What came across your heart to do that?
Most definitely, man. Before I start, thanks for having me, man. Want to give a quick shout out to Amos Brown, man.
Oh yeah,
definitely influenced me in a major way. I actually called in one day, and being a stranger, he helped me get some free tuition for school. So
amen to that. All right,
definitely.
So again, what made you want to get that company off the ground?
Man, honestly, I'm a 2-time felon. So, any given slip or mistake, I could be going away for a long time.
Yeah.
So basically, motivation was getting out of jail. Taking my first felony, which was armed robbery, and going around. Man, I had to fill out hundreds of applications. Then from filling those applications, they had to be edited. I had to say certain words to get the attention of the interviewer. But just being able to having to go through everything that I went through after jail and after facing time, the motivation has come directly from that.
Gotcha. All right. So let me ask you this next question. As we're young black men, probably early 30s, late 20s, early 30s, around that bracket.
Yes,
as
sir.
a young black man, how do you feel that it's easy to get sucked into the bad parts of the world, or even specifically to get sucked back into a prison institute? So many people get out. Everybody's not lucky like you are.
For
Everybody's
sure.
not able to stand on their own 2 feet and continue to move on with life, and have that strength to do so. So why is it so easy to get sucked back into the bad parts of life once you've been freed or released?
For me, and I'm a lucky man. You say lucky, man. It's definitely blessed, man. I had a great support system.
Amen.
Actually, one of the guys over there, your engineers, man, Antoine Big Twant, man, he definitely has been there as a support all my life. But it's easy, real easy, man, when you surround yourself with the same people that you was with before you got locked up or you went down. If you could keep going in the hood, or if you keep going into hostile situations where you might have to pop off, or you might have to act out of your current character, you can expect consequences. I kind of live by a rule that I made up myself. I never heard anybody else say it, but I said, that it shouldn't be that you're a product of your environment, but your environment should be a product of you. I hear pastors all the time say, that go in and change the atmosphere.
Oh yeah.
So if I'm going to the hood, why not still stay the light? I should not be affected by what's around me. Now, in the event or the times that I get to cussing, because I'm around people that carry themselves in that manner, then that's a red flag for me to say, hey, you've been hanging out a little bit too long, and it's time to go.
Yeah, well, it's a certain saying, as they say, you're a product, of your environment.
Yes,
but, I call it an oxymoron, because it's one of those standpoints of you can't be too That's what I call it. You can't be too standoffish. You know what I mean? You got to always remember where you come from in that same token. And as what we say, bougie, you know, in those aspects, you know, you always have to remember where you come from, but you also have to remember where you're going to in the process. And I like, you know, I just love the way that you said that, man. You have to know where you're going to as well. My next question is, why do you think it's important to have a male role model that influence in young men's life at an early age? I know that's something that I was seeing you do. You know, you working with the young men, taking them to go get jobs, fill out job applications. Why is it so important to have that male role model influence at a young age?
It's so important. I mean, just blatantly stated, you know, a woman cannot raise a man to be a man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I was just telling a young lady this the other day. Now, kudos to the women, because I told her right after that, I said, I can never, you know, love a young lady or a young man like a woman can love, you know, because they love differently.
Correct.
But that the Bible calls it doulos, which means authority or power. That is something that comes out of a man that can only be given to another man.
Absolutely.
You know, that you know, when my mom would say wash the dishes as opposed to my dad saying, little boy, get up and wash some dishes, it was two different reactions.
Contrast, yes, sir. I know what you mean. Yeah.
So it's important for, you know, young men to see older men handling their business, because if they only see the thugs or the bosses or the, you know what I mean, the dope dealers, then that's all they'll glean to. That's all that they'll want to get up and become, because they see what comes after that. They see the cars, they see the rims, and then by the time that the dope dealer gets locked up or killed, well, the kid is already like, look, this is what I'm doing. Gotcha. So it's important, because for me, my pastor, Bishop Arnie Montgomery, who is just, you know, a direct light. He's the pastor of New Day Pentecost.
Oh, okay.
But being able to see him in his different elements, he's, you know, a husband first, father, you know, and then one particular Sunday, I was just watching him and observing him. He basically worked the room. He was just fellowshipping. But to be able to see him in those different characteristics and be able to step down from the calling of, you know, pastor, just to be the charismatic, you know, boom, pop, pal, you know, young African-American husband from Hallville, it's important for me to be able to say that that's my pastor, but he's not high and mighty, or he's not, as you say, bougie, or he's not spiritual. Heck, spiritual bougie in this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% on that. You know, it's in the standpoint of, do you feel that the youth is no longer being raised in the church anymore? You know, when we talk about foundational principles, you know, a lot of those foundational principles that you just talked about, you know, come from the Bible. Do you think that we've lost that touch with this new generation, specifically the millennials? Do you feel like we've lost that touch with them? We're not raising them in the church like it used to be, you know, and not giving them an option to go to church like it used to be?
Let me first say, hey, ladies at New Day, you guys do a great job. But sadly, yes, like, we used to have all-night prayers. We used to have lock-ins growing up. We used to have ain't no party like a Holy Ghost party, because the Holy Ghost party ain't going to stop. You know, we used to – what was that movie, Sister Act 2?
Oh, yep. And
they did the fundraiser outside.
Yeah, I think
you know
that was
what
one
I mean?
with Lauryn Hill in it.
For me, who's a, you know, a gospel Christian rapper, or, you know, whatever kind of function title you want to for me, you hear a lot of people from church, you know, shunning the hip-hop, you know, motivational rap, I guess you could say, but that's how you get a kid's attention. You know, you come on their common ground, as opposed to, you know, kind of the religious traditional aspect of life. I believe we have lost these children. We've lost them to tablets and cell phones and apps. You know what I mean? That's what's really teaching them. And if they can pull up the Migos before they can pull up Minister, you know, such and such, then they gonna, you know, that's what's gonna teach them.
Now, I'm going to ask this question because I'm a big technology guru, so it's nothing like bias or personal, but do you feel that technology has now, for what you just said, it's kind of a rhetorical question maybe, do you feel like it has taken away the knowledge base of where the children gets their information? You think they don't ask their parents anymore for questions, they just try to find it themselves and make their own analysis on it, instead of getting a historical reference or a personal reference, you know, over certain things? Do you think technology has stripped that away from parents?
I'm going to be honest. I'm 27, and I would love to have a child on God's appointed time. But I have 5 handsome young nephews. And watching them, one of my nephew, Kyron, he's had an iPhone since he was like 7, and he's 13 now. And I would have to agree to say that technology has taken away some curve of the learning for the children and has robbed the parents. But at the same time, I tell my sister, I've told my mom in the past, turn the Wi-Fi off. Take the tablet away. I would, for me as an uncle, I would love to be able to pick my nephews up and just go camping. Leave the cell phones at home, and they know when they hop in Uncle John's car, we going to church. I leave my cell phone in the car when I go into church because, now I have went live, but for me, it's only taken away when you let it be taken away. If your kid is asking to help on their homework, but you Facebook, Snapchatting, and Twittering, and you're as a parent,
it's just as distracting as children.
Correct. You know what I mean? You see kids in the background and you Snapchatting. You know what I mean? But this little homie trying to finish his homework.
That's true, man. That's very important. And what you said is very accurate. And I always give the pro, even though I love technology, I always get the pros and the cons behind that, because that is a big con with parents, wanting to get involved with their children, wanting to be more involved, but it's hard for them to, because they do get sucked into social media. That is a real thing. And for those of you all, who's listening, and not in a bashing way, monitor yourself. Please do so. Anybody who's listening right now, please monitor yourself in the amount of social media usage that you do, because it's just as equivalent as watching 8 hours of television after work. Wow. If you get off at 5 o'clock, you watching television till midnight, it's just as equivalent as you keep scrolling through YouTube videos or you scrolling on Facebook stream videos for almost 2.5 hours. Right. And like you said, little Johnny need help with his homework, but you want to Snapchat instead. And he's only going to follow your path of what you do. Right. Exactly, 100%. All right, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back here in the next 2 minutes or so. Once again, for all of our listeners, please make sure that you chime in on Facebook Live at Insight Sundays. Once again, that is Facebook Live at Insight Sundays. Give us your questions, comments, and concerns. When we come back, we're going to get into our second round with Convicted to Change with John Lindsey.
Welcome back, Indianapolis, to Insight Sundays with our second half with Convicted to Change with John Lindsey in the house today. All right, John, my next question to you to kind of follow up and wrap up the show in the next 10 minutes is, how do you think young black males are now projected in the media? We have so many different outlet sources from CNN, and we definitely know the way the world is turning right now, from deriving from the presidential election. So how do you feel young black males are portrayed in the media?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't watch TV.
Okay.
I just gave a TV away that I got from Black Friday. So I can, social media wise, I really couldn't even speak from the media standpoint. That's how much I'm tuned out. And then I consider myself a poster and not a scroller. I don't sit for 2-3 hours just reading in nobody's business and what you got going on. But from my standpoint, as my fight as a black man, I've went to nice restaurants and been looked down on, and bad looking restaurants, and treated like a king. So I just think honestly, it's not even just a black man. This is just racism as a whole, prejudice as a whole, the world as a whole. Any race, when someone feels like, I have more money than you, or I dress better than you, it's no longer about the color. It's just, I'm better than you. That I'm not gonna say Trump mentality, because I've never met Trump to say that he's that type of pompous person. But just that mentality that there's nothing you can do for me type. That mindset, look, I've asked people, hey, could I use your cell phone because mine is dead? And they tell me no. You know what I mean? That could be black, white, Hispanic, African, Asian. And mind you, the first race I said was black. We just as a person, as a people, it's easy just to say no and not have a giving or a loving heart or that kind heart. And then it's people like me, or people like, I'm sure some of your listeners who just have a big heart. So when we just give and we do for other people, but then we're taken for granted of, or we're taking advantage of, and it makes people like myself and, I'm sure people like you get tired and want to give up. So, yeah.
Well, next question to kind of a little bit piggyback off of that just a little bit. Why is it that, do you feel that young black men are not offered careers but offered more jobs?
That I definitely would agree on.
What do you think we should do as a community to help change that?
As a community, we should be our own bosses.
Amen to that.
I actually put in my 2 weeks notice at the city of Indianapolis, DPW, making $20.96 an hour. As a convicted felon, $47,000 a year, or 43 to 47, depending on overtime, is what I just made about a year ago. Now I quit my job. They actually fired me after 3 days. So cool for me, you know, I get workman's comp, but I did it to take this job on, this company on full time. My company, we offer job readiness training, just interview skills, workshop training. Our main goal in our fundraiser right now, which is why we gave a car away last week. We gave an iPhone 7, and we're currently giving an iPhone 7 away. But our focus is to raise $10,000. That $10,000 will get us to our first dump truck. And that dump truck, I will certify and train people of low income. It's not just so much about having a background, but actually just having low income. I'll be able to train these people, teach them and train them how to get their CDLs and in tune their their CDL licensing. But I just truthfully think we as a people, now we could talk about what they do all day long. The fact that there's no opportunities, dog, that's just an excuse. I was facing life in prison. I was on house arrest. You know, I had no water, I had no light, no electricity, nothing to eat on. And bruh, I made it from there. I had 16 points on my driving record. I had to pay $1,200 for a reinstatement fee. Like these are all mountains that I was able to overcome by faith. Understanding we could say, you know, God says X, Y, Z, and ABC, but it's our action to match God's word.
Faith without works is dead.
Yes,
Every
sir.
time, 100%. Here's another good one. How do we make sure that we raise awareness to young black men on how to respect our young black women?
Wow.
How do we do that, man? I mean, it's such, to me, it's so hurtful to see young black men just completely and consistently disrespect all women for that matter in this day and age, but especially your own sisters. How do we prevent that from happening? How do we, as the elder statesmen, teach them the correct methods on how to treat a young black woman?
I mean, honestly, and that's hard for me because I'm going through a lot personally right now myself. But honestly, hey, man, if you're talking to my little sister and I see you in the streets, man, please treat her right. You know, just be an example. I'm the type of man, the lover I am, you know, I like to open doors still.
Call it chivalry. Yeah.
You know, I still open doors. I still, you know, when I shake your hand, if you're someone I'm interested in dating, I kiss your hand. You know what I mean? Just going back to the old time ways, you know, taking them back and being the example that we want them to be.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Just doing that, because I do it all the time. You know, I'm single, you know, with no children, and the Bible says man, you know, it's not good for man to be alone. But I've seen my uncles court women, and I mean, you know, I've seen them court my aunts. I've seen my father court my mother. So for me, it's just actually being that, because I can take them to an event, and this is, you know, good manners awareness. But if they don't go back home and see what they seen at Good Manners Awareness Day, then that awareness, you know, kind of just rubbed off.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's just, you know, be the light that you want to see. Because with in my past relationship, I used to drive the car and pull like directly up next to the church door. I would get out of my car, walk around the car every single Sunday faithfully, and open her door. And that was just not for nobody else.
A little bit goes a long way. Absolutely, man. It really does. Seriously, a little bit always goes a long way.
Yes,
if
sir.
anybody would like to get in touch or to reach out to your program so that they can get the assistance that they need for whatever kind of situation that they're in, how do they reach out to you and get in touch with your program?
Currently, you can leave me a message at 317-478-4771. We have our Facebook page, which is, you can just search Convicted to Change, and that 2 is a numerical function, so it's Convicted to Change. And I have a personal page. It's actually J. Tom Lynn. I was getting a lot of traffic, so I had to change my name, but it's J. Tom Lynn on Facebook. Shout out to Autumn Carter. She's actually working on our website. Now, if you're reaching out, please understand that we can help you with resume building. We can help you if you're fresh out of prison, or if you're just looking and you haven't been able to, find that open door, then there's plenty. I mean, I have a garage full of pointers and avenues to help, someone without a job actually, find what they're looking for. We're partnered. We have a lot of partner companies, but one of them being majorly, I believe, is industrial staffing.
Okay.
You can go there, and if you're a convict or you're looking, they definitely work with people of that background, and they don't, as long as you come with that work ethic and that look, then you pretty much got a job.
All right. Well, we appreciate it so very much, and we appreciate all of our listeners who are in the car or all of our virtual listeners on Facebook Live. We so greatly appreciate you guys for tuning in to Insight Sundays. Once again, you can catch us on Instagram, or you can catch us on Twitter or Snapchat, all under the title name of Insight Sundays, and we will check you guys out next week.